Beautiful love. Beautiful love. Beautiful love.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Anaya Kim, and I'm back with another video. Today I wanted to get ready with y'all. There are a couple of things I wanted to talk about today while I did my makeup and got ready for my day. Let's dive right in. As y'all can see, the skin is skinning. Shout out to my sis Keisha with her skincare line called Body Me Beauty. It has my skin glowing, okay? If you see me looking down, I'm looking at my mirror right here so I can like see myself for real. Just a disclaimer, don't get mad at me, but I will not be talking about any makeup during this video.
You need to leave.
I'm going to be talking about some other things, just kind of catching up with y'all with my life as I'm doing makeup, but I will make sure that I put all of the products that I use in the description box below so you can see what I'm using if you want to go and buy anything. Let me know if y'all do want any videos of me doing makeup and talking through actual makeup. We can definitely do that. We can definitely do that. It has definitely been a minute since I have been on here. What can I say? What can your girl say about where I've been? I mean, in the last year, I have been praying consistently, like, God, please don't let me start this journey with you, get on fire for you, all these things, and then I fall off. Like, I don't want another season of my life where I am, you know, super on fire, and then a few months later, I am completely just not living how I was living before, right? When I tell y'all, God definitely has put that to the test for me in the last, really since the end of last year. Just me staying committed to him, right? Like staying committed to this walk, even when I'm in the fire, even when I'm in the midst of a storm, even when things don't make sense. One thing that I have definitely kind of even shared with others about working on is, you know, not just going through the routine of a Christian lifestyle, but actually living out that Christian lifestyle through your relationship with God. That should be the emphasis of this walk, is your relationship with God. And I feel like I found myself going through the motions. I'm going to church on Sundays. I'm going to Bible study on Thursdays. You know, I might go to other little Bible studies here and there. I'm having certain Christian conversations with people. I'm having devotionals most days of the week or reading my Bible here and there, but I wasn't really seeking relationship with God, right? And so out of that lack of seeking, I started to feel empty and very lost, as far as, and when I say lost, meaning more so far away from God. Y'all, I have to do makeup. Talking and doing makeup, it's not my strong suit. So I have like a little sticky note of things that I need to make sure I say and talk about so I stay on track, because I will talk to y'all for an hour and then be like, oh, I ain't even did my brows yet. Okay, anyways, let's transition back. I found myself empty, like I was saying. I found myself very empty and just not fulfilled in my spiritual walk. And I'm like, God, how do I get back to a place where I am on fire with you? And what I've come to realize, honestly, here recently is that relationship piece I definitely put on the back burner and made the routine of being a Christian more of a priority, right? Like, I want to look like a Christian more than I'm actually being a Christian. Does that make sense? And then as I've been going through this routine of, you know, of life, I feel like God has been laying some gems on my heart, like, woo, some words that'll make you shout. But y'all, I would be so quick to post on Instagram what he's saying, or, you know, share with somebody else, or, you know, write it down in my notes, that I never took the time to first allow it to marinate, convict me, and really cause change in my heart on those different things. Like, I love a good word. I love a good word. I love a good sermon. I love a good lesson. I love a good Bible story. I just love a good download from God, right? And I love it so much I want to share with other people. But what I feel like God is really working on me with is like, first let it be something that affects me first. Like, there should be an application of that thing first before I can share it out. Sometimes every word isn't for everybody yet. Sometimes it's just for me. If God gave it to me, then that means that he wants me to do something about it first. And I was so quick. I'm so quick. I mean, is so quick to share out, you know, what God is doing and what he's telling me and all these things, that I never stopped to say, okay, God, how can I apply this? And what do you want me to do with this word first before I take it and do what I want with it, right? And so because of that, there have been some things that God has given me that really should have a long time ago struck some change in my life, that because I was making it a word for other people and not a word for Anaya, I missed what God wanted to do with me with that word. And so I'm honestly, there are some things where I was looking up 2-3 months later, like, dang, why is this still a problem? I remember when God told me, etc., etc. But now I'm still finding that this is an issue. It's because I never let that word actually marinate in my heart. I love that word, marinate. I never let the word marinate in my heart. I never let it convict me to the point of change, right? To the point of application before moving forward and sharing it out or moving on to the next word. I was watching this video on TikTok once where this girl was saying she went to church Sunday morning and her pastor had like this really good word. It was so good. Then she went back to church Sunday evening and her pastor was like, okay, somebody tell me what y'all learned in service this morning. And she could not recall what she had learned. She was like, I knew it was good. I knew it was a really good word. But when he asked, I couldn't recall. She felt like what God was telling her in that moment was, I'm giving you all these good words, but the reason why you can't remember the words that I'm giving you, the reason why you can't remember any of these downloads that I'm downloading on your heart is because you haven't first taken the first one and applied it. You haven't taken the first one and done something with it. So now your brain is just full of all these downloads with nothing to do with them. So at some point your brain, it starts saying, you know, I'm over capacity. Like, I have too much downloaded on my mind. I can't remember all of this. And I haven't done anything with the first 10 downloads. I sure can't do nothing with 5 more right now in this one moment, right? And I definitely see that for me in my life where I'll go to church and church could be so good. Church could be so good. And then later on, I'll be like telling a friend about it or whatever. And I can't ever really remember the parts where God was truly trying to download something to me. I can remember kind of like the fluff of the sermon, the gist of the sermon, but like, what was God trying to tell me? What was he really reaching out to say to me in that sermon? Sometimes those things can be forgotten for me because I'm so busy trying to make everything applicable to everybody else that I never actually digest the food that he is trying to feed me, right? Those were 2 different analogies. That's okay. Hopefully you get what I'm saying. So yeah, that's kind of the gist of where I've been, what I've been up to, why I haven't been recording. Just feel like God has really been dealing with me in some real ways. So I want to talk about what's new in my life. If I have not shared this yet, I don't know why not. But your girl is a full-time makeup artist. I have gone full-time with my makeup business. It is a journey every single day, but God has been so faithful to me in this season, providing me with clients and new opportunities to expand and grow and just experience new sides of this industry. When I tell y'all, the faith that he is requiring out of me is real. It is so real, because to not pursue what the world defines as security can be a little difficult. I'm not gonna lie. I lost my job in November, and as I was actively applying for new jobs, long story short, just feel like God was pulling me towards going full-time in my business. And so I did. But ever since making that decision, there are lots of people who are in disagreement with that decision. And that's okay. That's their problem, not mine. But because they're in disagreement with that decision, there does come points in my life where I'm like, well, I value their opinion, so let me take it. So I'm gonna go and apply for some jobs, and if I get them, I get them, and if I don't, I don't, right? And that's also been kind of a prayer of mine, like, okay, God, I'm gonna apply for this job, but if I get it, I get it. If I don't, I don't. But I'm also realizing, like, that's lacking faith. Like, God has already told me, and he's already shown me that he is faithful to me, and that he's going to be faithful to me in this season, that this is what he's called me to do. And so while there may be people who don't agree with me going full-time in my business, that's a personal problem. That has nothing to do with Anaya, to be completely honest. Something that I'm having to come to terms with, though, right now, is that even though there are people that don't agree with it, that's okay. Like, there is enough room for people to not agree with me stepping out on faith, and for me to actually step out on faith, right? Like, I can respect their opinion and respect that they want what's best for me, and I don't have to actually take their advice. And I know, like, I understand that when they're saying, like, well, I would still apply for jobs, I would still be looking for jobs, that what they're saying is like, just in case, keep looking, you never know. But God's not a just in case God. He's not a plan B, C, or D God. And if he said that plan A is go full-time with your business, then plan A is go full-time with my business, okay? And there is no plan B, C, or D. I know there are people that feel like, maybe you're not hearing God right. Maybe that's not what God is calling you to do. Maybe you think that's what God is calling you to do, but really he's saying something else. And that's cool. If you think that, that's fine. But I know what God, I mean, at this point, y'all, like, God has taken care of me in a way in this season that I've just never been taken care of. I'm sure he's taken care of me in other seasons in this same way, but like, I'm experiencing him in a whole different way. Right? Like, I'm experiencing when I'm asking God for faithfulness. I'm asking God for provision. I'm asking God for bills to be paid and to be able to have money to take care of other important things. Him literally showing up and showing out every single time. Like, how do you doubt a God like that takes care of your every need? Most of the time before I even know that I needed that need taken care of. Like, oh, he is so good. I will not rely on plan B and C, because plan B, C, and D is not going to take care of me. Plan A is. Plan A is God's plan. And so, if you consider yourself a faith-having Christian, then all the time, you just gonna have to stand out on faith, even if other people don't understand it. Because guess what? God told you. He didn't tell them. And so it's not on you to care what other people think. it's on you to care what God is telling you to do. If you don't do what God is telling you to do, if you're not moving how God is telling you to move, there are going to be consequences for those things. And I'm not saying like wrath or death or like things like that, but even just missing out on where he has you when he wants you there. You know, even sometimes I do believe that we find ourselves in some situations that we don't want to be in out of our disobedience to God. God gives us boundaries. He tells us certain things. He wants us to move in certain directions because he knows what he's trying to do in our lives. And when we are disobedient to those things, when we try to oppose those things, we're going to find ourselves out of the will of God. Right? And yeah, he's gonna remaneuver us and get us back on track. But I mean, I'm just saying, I would like to avoid any more heartache. I would like to avoid any more thumps on the forehead by God. You know what I'm saying? What is God doing with me in this season? What is God doing with me in this season? I can hear my friend Elise right now. So one thing that I like to say about myself is that I am a recovering people pleaser. I know that it is something that I shouldn't be doing because it is literally people pleasing is idolatry. That is putting other people above God. Shout out to Elise. I know that this is something I've been working on, or God has been working on with me for a while. But specifically in this season, God is showing me how deeply rooted this is in my life and in my actions, and even understanding some of where it's coming from, right? Like I've noticed maybe for the past few years how easy it is for me to conform to what other people are wanting, saying, or desiring from me. But now I'm starting to get why it happens and when it's happening and what triggers it happening, and also learning my own strength and power in saying no, in sticking to what I think is best or I know is best for myself, and knowing when God is telling me to do something in comparison to when I'm wanting to appease people, and like just having that conscious thought in those moments of like, you know what? No, I'm not going to go along with what I feel like they're saying or what they're thinking or what they're wanting. I'm going to do what I know God has called me to do, right? So I definitely do think that the people pleasing is something that God is really working on me with. Also kind of going back to, you know, keeping the fire. Learning how to stay committed to God, even in a season where things may not be going the way that I want it to go, or it may be a little difficult to stay committed, right? Like it would be easier to just like say, forget this morning, I'm not gonna have my prayer time. Today, even though I know I need to talk to God about this, I'm gonna just continue to ignore him. Today, I'm gonna decide to gratify my flesh in this one moment when I know that God has dealt with me in that specific season. I think also something else that God is definitely doing with me in this season is dealing with a lot of my toxic, consistent red flags, right? One thing that has been coming up a lot lately, and some of my close friends know this, I've been having this overwhelming feeling of being alone, right? Like it's almost like this emotion is plaguing me, y'all. Like I am surrounded by people, right? y'all know I love my Christian community, but outside of that, I just have friends in general, for real. And I've been feeling so alone. And the enemy has really been dealing with me on that. But that comes from childhood of, you know, feeling like I'm not good enough. So at home feeling not good enough, at school being bullied and not being good enough, at church sometimes not being good enough, I found myself like just instinctively separating myself from people, so that way there wouldn't come a point where I wouldn't be good enough for these people or for certain situations, right? And so that translates in so many other areas of my life, with not just friends, but work, different things that I know God is calling me to do, but you know, that feeling of not being good enough. And so when I separate myself from people, the enemy starts to say, oh, you don't have no friends. See, look around. Ain't no friends around you. There are no friends around you. And mind you, there are friends. There are friends. The issue is not them. The issue is not the friends. The issue is Anaya. I took myself out of community and connection with my friends. And then say, I don't have no friends. Make it make sense, bro. Make it make sense. And so what I'm learning is that in those moments where I want to pull away, that's when the communication needs to happen. That's when I need to say, hey friend, this is how I'm feeling. This is how, when you said this, it made me feel, it triggered this feeling. And so can we talk about this? Because my normal toxic trait is to run away from you and to completely like cut off friendship with you when you've really done nothing wrong. I'm just triggered, you know? And I'm learning that also sometimes you just gotta speak up. Like in those moments when I'm feeling alone, I just gotta speak up and be like, hey friend, I'm feeling alone right now. What are you doing? Let's hang out. Hey friend, like I need a friend right now. Can I come over? Can I call you? Whatever. Instead of just allowing the enemy to run with those thoughts, run rampant in my mind with those thoughts of you're alone, nobody's around you, nobody's texting you, you're not in nobody's group chats, then I need to speak up and say, friends, let's make a group chat. Let's, I don't know, have movie night. Let's do something. But what I can't do is sit in my own head and allow my thoughts to, you know, run rampant. I have to take captive those thoughts. That's what the Bible says. To take captive those thoughts, right? Don't let the enemy run rampant in your mind with different things. And if you are not strong enough to do it on your own, which none of us are because we're all fleshly beings, what we need to do in those moments is run to God. Run to God. He is a safe place. Run to him because his thoughts are higher than our thoughts. His ways are higher than our ways. And so listen, God, I need to seek out your thoughts right now. What do you want me to think about? Because what I'm thinking about right now, it ain't gonna work. It ain't gonna cut it. It gotta go. I rebuke it in the name of Jesus, right? Let me play some Christian music. Let me put on The Chosen. Let me call a friend that I know God has placed in my life that will speak life into me. And they may not even need to know what's going on, but I know that in this conversation, it's going to be fruitful and I'm going to shift my mind from the things of the enemy to things of God, right? So yes, the enemy has definitely been trying to get in my mind, has been trying to take me out and make me think that I am alone. And I think that is where moments of, and when I was younger, where moments of suicide came up for me. Those moments where I felt like I didn't have anybody in my corner. When I felt like I wasn't good enough for anybody or anything on this earth. So then what do I need to be here for? Who cares about me? Who wants to see me win? Nobody. Nobody's calling me right now. Nobody's texting me right now. Nobody wants to hang out with me. So then that must mean that I'm not good enough for anybody. And oh, that is the trick of the enemy. Let me tell you, that's what he wants you to think. He wants to spew lies all into your brain. So that way you think that you aren't worthy enough to be on this earth, that you aren't desired, that you aren't loved. Let me tell you, you are loved. If no one else tells you, you are loved. You are not alone. We need you, bro. We need you, sis. Like, please call me, beat me if you need to reach me. If you're ever having feelings of being alone, if you're ever having feelings of not good enough, if you're ever having feelings of like, you can't do this life anymore, because I've been there. And let me tell you, the enemy is not going to win. He is not going to win, okay? We're not going to let him win. As my face bakes, we can talk about what I feel like God is doing next in my life, right? I don't know, actually. A lot of people ask me that all the time. What's next? What's next? What's next? You know, I know my seniors, they know this well, this feeling well, you know, when you get ready to graduate and everybody's like, so what's next for you? What are you doing next? Ugh, I can't stand that question because honestly, I don't know. I'm in a season of my life and a time of my life where I am completely okay with not knowing. I don't have to know the answer to everything at this point. Whatever is next is what God wants to do next. And I am open and available to him shaking it up however he wants to shake up my life, right? I was reading James 5. So I was reading James 5, 7 through 8. And it just talks about patiently waiting. And from the perspective of like a farmer, right? And what I loved about that verse, and I'll read it. Okay. So this is the New Living Translation, James 5, 7 through 8. Dear brothers and sisters, be patient as you wait for the Lord's return. Consider the farmers who patiently wait for the rains in the fall and in the spring. They eagerly look for the valuable harvest to ripen. You too must be patient. Take courage, for the coming of the Lord is near. Oh my gosh, I loved that. When God really showed me what he was saying in those two verses, my mind was blown, y'all. What I got from it was, when you think about a farmer, right? He has this expectation of this crop to come to harvest, right? He puts the seed in the ground, he's tilling the soil, and he's getting everything ready and prepared for the harvest that he knows is gonna come. He's waiting expectantly for this harvest to come. Oh my gosh, let me tell y'all why that encouraged me so much. Because sometimes we are like a farmer who puts the crop in the ground, and then we're just like, all right, well, I'll come back 5, 6, 8 months. Hopefully it's grown. We'll see. We'll see if it grows. And then we'll come back 6, 7, 8 months and nothing will have grown. And then sometimes we're like a farmer, maybe, who will put the crop in the ground, and then we'll come back the next day and we're like, okay, where is my crop at? Why don't I have a harvest? Why is everything not ready for me to pluck up right now? Oh my gosh. But when I really dive deep into what the job of a farmer is from the fall rain to harvest, he is tending that soil. He is fertilizing that soil. He is making sure that crop, that seed has everything it needs to take root in the soil, right? He is tending to it as it is growing and as it is maturing, right? He is preparing things for the day of harvest, whatever it's going to take to be able to harvest the crop, whatever he needs to do to make sure that crop goes where it needs to go. All of that is happening in the middle up until that harvest, right? And that is what God is wanting us to do. Like, we know there's a harvest. I know that God has a harvest waiting for me at the end of this life. And whether that's heaven or whether that is something earthly, I know it's there. And what he's called me to do is not to be so focused on the harvest, because I know the harvest is going to come, but my focus needs to be on the in-between. Like, get content with the in-between. Get content with watching and waiting for the crop to grow. But while you are watching and waiting, get to work. Get your hands dirty. What are you doing as you are waiting with expectancy for this harvest? And so what's next is work. Whatever it needs to be done in the fields, right? Patiently endure this process as I am simply just waiting for God to do his thing. You know what I'm saying? Because he gonna do his thing. He's showing up and showing out every day. You see this breath?
Wrap it up.
My limbs are moving. Showed up and showed out.
Exit that way. Thank you.
I know God's gonna do a great work, and he's gonna do something new that I've never experienced before. He's going to do exceedingly and abundantly. And all I'm gonna do, y'all, is tend to my crop. So that's what's next in my life.
3,000 years later.
That's a little bit about my life, what's been going on, some things that God has been dealing with me about. I pray that anything that was said encourages somebody. And if you need somebody to talk to, if you need somebody to walk with you, if you need somebody to just be like, hey, are you alive today? Please message me on Instagram. I'm dropping my Instagram on here. It'll also be in the comment box below. I love y'all, and there ain't a thing you can do about it. Bye.